This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after this show.
Don't drink the Foster. We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, hi, my name is Peter.
Yeah, I want.
Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on. He likes it. It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
That's right, it's showtime. Another beautiful day in the neighborhood. Hope everybody's doing well. My name is Peter G. You're watching Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show, right here, right now. Every Wednesday, like clockwork, God willing. How is everybody? I gotta tell you, I'm grateful for every day, but every freaking week there's so much stuff going on that stuff that I want to talk about. But I try not to. I try to hold back. That's why I have guests. I try to hold back from my ranting. Because in this day and age, I just talked to somebody yesterday. I was at a gathering. And we were talking about this stuff. And I said, you know what? I really don't like getting into it. He says, but you can't help it nowadays. Everything's so different. And I looked at him and go, you are correct. I never used to be like this. But if you can't, it's so blatant in your face, like all the events that are going on in our lives every day that are not good, that you can't not talk about it. You're doing a disservice. And, kind of that guy now. Because I care. And I do care. Speaking of caring, and I'm going to try to hold back tonight. Tonight, though, and we're going to be coming up in a couple of minutes, I have from the Artist First Radio Network radio talk show host, Miss Cathy Nutt. She's been on in the past. It's been a while since she's been on. I like to touch base with her because she's off in her world doing her thing, and she's ornery. She has this way of twisting things around. When I'm talking to her, she starts asking me questions. And I'm going to try to keep her pinned down tonight. We're not going to let her do that. I fell for it a couple of times. You just go into that trance. And it's like, wait a minute, whoa. Who's the host here? But anyway, I'm going to do my best. But I got things. I want to see how she's doing. She's always an interesting time because she's a Southern gal. She's kind of feisty. I like knowing what's going on that end because it's hard. Because the thing is, I get her on the show, we talk, and then I don't get to talk to her. I mean, we're both busy. Life is fast. It's a hustle. She's doing her thing. I'm definitely doing mine. And it's only a brief, text here and there, and so I want to catch up. So she's going to be on in a couple of minutes, so you're not going to want to miss that. So get your popcorn ready, and an adult beverage might be necessary, and we'll get back to her. In the meantime, next week, where are we at? Next week, Wednesday, August 17th. It's health and wellness time again. Can never get too much health and wellness. Knowledge is power. We're not as bulletproof as we used to be. It's good to talk to people who have a plethora of information. And speaking of information, next week, August 17th, Wednesday, right here. Wednesday, right here. I'm going to have Miss Katie Chapman on. She's a dietitian, health and wellness. We're going to talk to her about a bunch of stuff. Should be interesting, as they always are. I can't believe how many people I get that really like listening to that kind of stuff. I would have never thought, but then again, what the hell do I know? I'm just a show host. That's why I bring the professionals in. I'm just the man in front of the curtain. Speaking of which, there's no Pepsi right now. He's busy. It's kind of like a vacation for me, though. That boy drives me crazy. I had long flowing hair when I met him. Thick, long flowing hair. And then he just like one at a time. You don't even notice it hardly. Kind of like the way, we're being, the way life is going right now. It's like they just take one thing at a time, little increments. You don't really notice it. Anyway, he'll be back in a couple of weeks. He's on a permanent vacation. That's next week. Katie Chapman. Also, last thing before I bring Cathy on, if you can't watch the show, which I love that you can watch the show, watch My Mind Over Your Mind. Can't watch the show, take it on the go with you. Take the show on the go with you. Put it in the car, put an earbud in your ear. Google Peter G Show podcast on 23 different platforms now. It's going up. Pick one. iTunes. They don't call it iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcasts is the biggest, but there's Spotify and there's Amazon Podcasts, all the above. You just Google it and pick which one you want. You can listen to the show in the car, kind of like a radio vibe. You can listen to it while you're at work, because who the hell wants to be, occupied with work? Work is work. So there's almost 300 shows. You can stay current, but you can listen to them on demand. Who knows? You might actually get something out of it. But podcasts. I appreciate those who listen or watch any way you can. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to get right to the meat of the subject. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, my friend, she's been on this show before a couple of times through the past 2-3 years, and she's going to be on the show right now. Actually, she's on the show right now. Artist, First Radio Network radio talk show host, my friend, hopefully yours, because I'm hoping you go check her out. Cathy Nutt.
Hi, Peter. Oh, I'm so happy you're having me.
Well, this is the next best thing to being there. I can't.
Well, my first question is, why are you still single?
Here we go again. She started off. It didn't take you 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds to. Who said? Well, we're not going there tonight. We are not going there. Well, I'm busy.
I heard what you said about me, and I thought I'm getting straight to the nitty gritty.
Wow. Yeah, the Arkansas matchmaker over here, ladies and gentlemen. It's holy moly. Let's back it up now before you get your motors revving. I'm gonna back you up.
Okay.
I said I'm gonna keep you down before you start taking over the show, and then all of a sudden I'm the interview, and I don't want to be the interview. Don't ask, don't tell. How are you?
I am doing very well. Thank you for asking. And I love how you described me as the Southern girl, in which I really am, and some others something. Oh, and one thing I thought, he doesn't know this about me. I was a physical education major. So that's a whole nother show, because I can give a lot of advice on how to stay in shape and be in shape and be walking 5 miles when you're my age and things like that. So, like you guys in California like to do all that anyway. Well, we do here in Arkansas too.
I do too, but you're basically, we'll get to the radio stuff and all that, but you're kind of like a sports chick, aren't you?
I'm a sports chick, and that's what separates me from a lot of other chicks. And I can spend more valuable time with men anytime than I can with women. And men like that about me, because I can talk sports and I actually have knowledge about it. And I kind of know what I'm talking about almost in every sport. I keep up with it. And of course, basketball is my favorite. And then I'll go on to football and then baseball. But yeah, I'm knowledgeable about it. And I know names. If you give me a professional name or college basketball player, something, I know that. And so men find that really interesting because they're not used to that. If someone says, hey, you want to go to the sports bar and watch a game? And I go, yes. I don't want to go to the opera or the, Broadway. I'd rather go to see a sporting event. So, yeah, I'm a sports fan.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure, I know, actually, I'm not even pretty sure. I flat out know that you can leave me in the dust when it comes to talking about sports, because I've kind of just veered away from it. I'm so busy. I just had to make choices in my life, and music really took over my life in back in the day, and I just kind of stay. So I mean, I'll watch playoffs and things like that, but I don't go. I just. Again, I'd be the guy looking at you. You know, you're watching the game, and I'm going, "Honey, when's the game over?"
That's cute. That's cute. Well, yeah, I used to be very, very into it, and now I'm kind of like you. I mean, I'll recognize the players. I'll know what's going on, but I'm not just glued to it because when I was married, my television was on ESPN 24/7. So now it's not. I watch shows that I actually wanted to watch in my life that I never did. But I do love playoffs. I love the NCAA tournament, the championship tournament. I love baseball, the World Series, the College World Series, the football playoffs. I like all that. During the year, I may not know as much as what I used to, but I do okay for myself in that area. But you know what? It's funny because some people are more artists and they're artistic, but I think I'm just a really good athlete.
I got you. I mean, look, I see on Facebooks and all that. There's lots of women, sports chicks, you know, and you know, all ages. And I'm just looking at them going, I wouldn't be able to keep up with her because she's really diehard, you know, like especially in football season, Alabama and Crimson, and I'm going, you know, and one of my friends I used to play with back in the Gulf Coast, and we're really tight, and his wife and his kids they are heavy football fans, and while they're watching Saturday football, he's in his office, and I always call him on a Saturday afternoon because I know that, like, I go, hey, what you doing? He goes, oh, I'm just in my office doing some this and that. I go, well, what's going on at the house? He goes, it's football day. You know? And because
he's so happy to talk to someone.
Kind of. He could take it or leave it, you know?
I think it's great. I think it's what makes the world go round. And, you know, I was never very artistic in any way. And so you're a musician. When you have your thing that you do, you don't have a lot of time for the other things that you do. You know, I was married to a college basketball coach for 30 years. It was my life. I was the head cheerleader and I had a busy schedule keeping mine and his, and that's what you do. And so, and both of my sons and daughter, they were all good athletes and played sports year round, and it was my full-time job, and I wouldn't want it any other way that I wasn't in the stands and cheering and making everything go and making sure they had food and their friends had food. And it's kind of just what I did. And I loved it. I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore, but I did love it.
No, I get it. And, you know, love is a good thing. I mean, to me, that's the most predominant word in my vocabulary, or at least in my mind. You know, I think that that's something we don't have enough of in many different areas. But I have musician buddies that still find time for their sports. I mean, I remember being in different countries, you know, and one of them, and even though we were in some other time zone and whatever, and they went to go watch the basketball game. So, you know, it's different for everybody.
It is. And it's what makes the world go round. That's what I always say. You know, it's what makes the world go round. And we're going to get to a little bit of politics. Just 1 second. I'm going to hit on that because I admire you so much because you live in California and our beliefs are so much alike. So I love that. But making the world go round, we used to make the world go round with politics. And we just say, okay, well, you know, they're this, I'm this. And we just agree to disagree. And it's gotten so much tougher in this time to agree to disagree. So it is. I heard your opening. Yeah, well, I think we're all pretty much struggling with our conversations. We tend to steer towards and hang out with the people that actually we can talk to, because everyone is so angry. I feel like everyone is so angry. Not as much on our side, I want to say, and the way I justify that by saying that our Republican people are very nice people generally. We're not so outspoken and we're not angry, and so therefore we tend to be a little bit quieter. But gosh, the way it is now in our economy and stuff is we're not being very quiet. It's been the subject of my show for the last 3 weeks.
This is what I want to talk to you about, because let's back it up here, because
Okay.
I want to know what because I haven't had time to follow your show. You know, I don't catch your advertising as and so I don't know who your guests are because our shows are on the same day. Your shows are
doing your thing and I'm doing mine, right?
Right. So it's very difficult. I want to know what you've been talking. I haven't talked to you. I mean, I haven't caught you. It's almost a year, I think, or at least last December or something like that since you've been on.
I think you're right, and I'm going to say that ain't right.
Well,
and the next time you go to Pensacola, I want to go because I love Pensacola. I went there for a tournament. I think I texted you. I said, "Hey, I'm in Pensacola. Are you here?" And you weren't. I loved it. It's the first time I've been.
Well, I know that you like that whole area down there, but I sneak in and out. Life is very fast for me. But I want to know who you've been doing for, having on for guests. I mean, your radio show is different. You do interview a lot of sports people too, I think. But you mix it up. So, who have you been? I mean, who's been your guest lately, and what you've been talking about?
Well, we had there's a famous coach. He was the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma University back in the 70s when they won several national championships. He was Coach Larry Lacewell, and he was a defensive coordinator for Coach Barry Switzer. Well, so then he came to Jonesboro, Arkansas, and became the head coach at Arkansas State University and the athletic director for 20 plus years. Then he went to Tennessee. Then he went to the Dallas Cowboys, and they won 3 Super Bowl championships while he was there. And it was just a big, big story. So he passed away. And his wife, this is where their longtime friendships were here in Jonesboro, but she had the most life for him, and he had famous athletes that he had coached, and he had famous coaches. He had Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, Coach Barry Switzer, who's just retired now in Oklahoma, but he was the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys when they won those 3 Super Bowls. And he had several.
What years? Wait a minute. What years are we talking?
Well, in the 70s, they won 3 national championships at Oklahoma University. I was in junior high, and I was such a follower, but they were so good. It was amazing. And he had Heisman Trophy winners. He coached all these Heisman Trophy winners. And 2 of those, Lucius Selman, there were triplets that played for OU. Lucius, Leroy, and Dewey. And Lucius Selman spoke. There was a running back that was famous there, Joe Washington. I'm sure you don't know any of these people, Little Joe, but he spoke. Okay. Well, he had all of these people that spoke at his cell. They all came and some spoke in person. My brother-in-law, Houston Nutt, spoke, and he was by video. But it was just a wonderful celebration. So I had some friends on my podcast a couple of weeks later to go back through Larry's life and just remember all the wonderful things that he did. And because he changed a lot of people's lives, these kids' lives and athletes, just offering them scholarships to play Division I football. And so many of them were so thankful. It was a star-studded event. If you're a sports fan, a football fan.
Well, I get it. And I know you have your following. I mean, because, you do a lot of that. You're heavy-ended on that end. But tell me something. Can you recall off the top of your head one of your weirdest radio shows, of the year? Like something that, like, you just thought, like, well, that didn't kind of go, or something that, like, holy crap, this was, like, off the rails or something.
I kind of have those a lot. I go, oh, because you know what? I do variety, and I love to promote entrepreneurs, and so I do a big variety of shows. And I love to promote musicians. I really do, and I think that I don't know. I just love music, and I love to promote musicians. I love to promote beginner people that are starting out that need some promotion. I like to do that and for people to get to know them. Now, one thing that I was just like flabbergasted. There's this man in Jonesboro who is right here that I met out one night with some friends, and you might not have even heard about this, but it's red light therapy. He sells these red lights all over the United States. And I'm going, I have never heard of that, So that was very interesting. I was going, wow, I should have known more about that before I had him on, but I didn't. I tried to research, but it was fantastic. That was one that took me off guard because it was so informational, and it's probably 3 or 4 years behind the time for me. I was not up to date on that. But lately, we've been talking about inflation, and the past 2 weeks has been on inflation station, how to save money, what it's costing us now, what in comparison. I have a specialization in real estate too, and so the market went. Our residential market has been ridiculous in the past few years since the pandemic. Residential went like this, commercial went like this. Commercial realized they didn't have to have offices. Residential, they were just the interest rates and all changed so much.
Right.
Well, now it's slow, as you know. That's why we are in a recession. No one wants to say the R word, but the cure for inflation is recession. So people that don't know that just need to Google. This isn't Republican, it's not Democratic, it's history. So it's been about that. I've given a lot of money saving tips on groceries. I mean, you know what it is. I mean, groceries. There's no money saving tips on gas other than you stay home and don't go anywhere. But on groceries and maybe even entertainment, the way that you like to entertain yourself, different kind of tips on saving money, because it's very important now. Everyone is watching everything that they do. And even the things that they buy at the grocery store, which they might have never watched before. It's a big, giant difference. And guess what? It's not going away anytime too soon. And Joe Biden does not have a clue how to heal any of this. He doesn't. And I say it every day. I say he's ruining our nation. No, he has. It's past tense in that category, and he just doesn't. And anyway, it was interesting to me of all the problems that we have, that we're doing the climate stuff. It's just so ridiculous. It really is. And there's a lot of. I have one of my favorite friends on Instagram. Is the funniest guy. He has the funniest posts I've ever seen in my life, and I send them out. I think they're just so funny, but they're just so true. But that's a whole nother subject. But that's been my subject lately, about how serious this is, how long it's going to last, how it's affecting all of us. It's affecting our kids. It's affecting our kids where they want to go to college. It's affecting everything that they do, because kids don't understand. Kids have always been able to do what they've been allowed to do in their homes. Well, now people are having to just stop. And as far as real estate, have you noticed how that slowed? All right, it has. I had a friend that sold his house about 4 weeks ago. He sold it in 3 hours. And he was kind of griping at me. He said, well, Cathy, I should have sold it for more money. And I said, you should be thankful. I said, you sold your house on the cusp of this interest rate, because a house that cost you, this is just an example, $1,700. The average house sells for $416,000. There's nothing in California that costs that $416,000. That's the average house in America. So with the interest rate before, that price was around $1,750. Well, now as much as our interest rates have grown, that house is costing $800 more a month. That's a big difference, and that's why it's just stopped. So inflation, they raise the rates. It causes people to stop, and that's where you get the recession. So that's what's happened.
Are you finding people that are willing to come on your radio show to talk to you about this stuff, or are you getting any people that are going like talking to you like you're crazy?
No, I pick and choose those people that they won't say I'm crazy. But no, I live in this area of the country that I don't have that many people that disagree. Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, you can just count on it. You might find a few people that are not on your same page. I have a few, but for the most part, it's pretty conservative, and it's always going to vote Republican. So, which, by the way, I want to ask you about your governor. So, I talked about him, and he's doing most of his advertising in Florida and Texas.
I know he's a jackass.
What's wrong with him?
I'm sick. I'm sick of the whole situation. But again, I don't like either team. I don't like the red or the blue. I think that deep down, they're all working for the same team. It's just one's just working way more radical than the other one. But they both answer to people that are way beyond our pay grade. And I do the word conservative. I can use that because it just got more common sense in it. I don't understand why people get so uppity, but they do.
It has common sense, and it also has money sense. If you're worried about your money, like one of my friends says, "Oh, I'm a Democrat, but when it comes to my money, I'm Republican." So I don't know.
That makes no sense. Not now. I mean, my parents, look, I grew up, again, growing up a Democrat because back in the day, it was a different type of, that word stood for something else. It was kind of an even playing field. They both had their differences, red or blue, but not like now. Now it's just 180. There's just like, what the hell? I don't know. Last week I was playing clips on a California law professor, who teaches, who was stating that, transgender men do get pregnant. And she was dead serious talking about it in Congress.
I heard that. I heard that. And I don't know if I was reading up on your show and heard that, but I did hear that. And I'm thinking, okay, now we've gone off the deep end.
Yeah, these are the times we're living in right now. And it's like, what the hell? And she was dead serious. And she changed the subject and just kind of put it off onto a different type of pitch. But it was just pure nonsense. And it's like, this is what our kids are getting taught and to accept, like, this is okay. It's not okay. And that's where I start getting a little crazy on this stuff. And that's why I can't keep my mouth shut sometimes. And again, I can't get anybody to disagree with me either. I'll invite anybody to come on if they're that strong about it, but they'll just cut me off.
Yeah, because people are reluctant to give you their reasoning. And they don't have one. They don't have one. That's exactly right.
They have an opinion. They don't. There's nothing to back it up. And that's why I'm saying maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, enlighten me, for God's sake. Call in, talk to us, and tell me what I don't know. Because I definitely don't know everything. But I've had to pay a lot of attention these past few years. Times are changing. I wish we could have more fun, but
I wish we could too. And you're so right. Times are changing. And I feel like the time changing thing, I'm pretty open-minded to it. I really am. I think, okay, that's your thing. It's not mine, but that's your thing. It's okay. I'm not the judge. I'm not the judge of that. It's not what I'm going to hang out with or condone or anything like that. But I'm definitely not going to criticize because I'm not the judge. So I think about that a lot too, in the way that I don't want to come across as being so I don't want to come across as being judgmental at all. But I do think that there are some things that are just ridiculous. And one of the things I think is ridiculous is now in airports and different places, we have the bathrooms say, I don't know what it is they say, but it just means it's for everybody, boys.
Family. It's in my years, it's been a family room, like, so you can take your child in there and change them or whatever.
It used to say family, but now it says something else, like all gender something. And I'm thinking, I've never seen that. I saw it in Dallas for my first time, and I went, wow.
That's funny because I go to Dallas a lot, and I just don't, and I don't even. Maybe I'm not paying attention. I don't care anymore. I'm sick of it. It's stupidity.
thought, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'll just go to the next bathroom. And so, anyway, it's just interesting. I don't understand it. I really don't. But it's different strokes for different folks, and I'm not the judge.
Okay, but tell me now, because it's hard being in this position as a host. You're putting yourself out there, so it's very difficult. Are you losing people like friends because of your, you know, I mean, because it's, you know, I just said, listen, it's just a show. You know, we've been friends for 40 years, and you're going to let this get in between us because you believe in this. I go, okay, you believe in this, but you know, I have to do a show. When you're paying my bills, then I'll talk. You know, we'll talk differently. But I'm losing. You know, some people I know have quietly just like disappeared, and it's sad. How about you?
It's very sad. That's the truth. And I even have friends that I'm really close with, and they'll say, one of my best friends said, and she's interesting because she's 89 and she's just adorable, but she's so liberal. So now she's being so, been very critical of me, and she'll say, what is wrong with you? What has happened to you? And I'll say, nothing's happened to me. And she said, no, something's happened to you. You become so conservative. And I said, no, you know what? I've always been conservative. The difference is y'all, all the liberals are so loud. Conservative people don't just go around just, you know, being so loud and pushing their thoughts on people. And I said, I've listened to you for years. I listened to you call President Trump your president to me. And you wish you'd get the COVID virus and die. And I said, but people like me, we don't say those things. We're just not going down your throat with it. And I said, so that's why you're saying all of a sudden I'm so conservative, because you're so much on the defensive. So anyway, that's what I mean by, I always say that conservative people, I think we really tend to be nicer people. I just want to say, because we're not that outspoken, and I do, but I have seen so much separation. I did a show on this one day about the separation of friends and family over all this. So I think it's ridiculous, and I do think it needs to go back to how we used to be and saying you just agree to disagree. But gosh, it's hard. It's very difficult, and I don't think it's from the nice people.
I don't think we even used to say we agree to disagree. I think we never used to even bother talking about this stuff. I mean, it was a minimal, because things were kind of, even though there was a disagreement, the level of the intensity of what's going on has never been like this.
Never.
You know, so we never talked about this stuff because it was, you know, there was little things to talk about here and there, but it was never this highest level of just idiocracy that's going on, that like, and people, you know, because again, I tell people for the millionth time, you used to watch TV and the news would tell you something, even though they may have always had an agenda, that was never this bad. And you believed the TV's news because that's what they were there for. You thought only in Iran and places like that, where they control everything and only tell you what you want to know, you'd think that happened over there. It couldn't possibly happen in the freest country in the whole entire planet.
You're totally right. We used to believe the news, and now I watch it and I don't believe any of it. I think, oh, well, somewhere in the middle is probably true, but yeah, and we don't know what's going on. We have no clue.
But that's the problem. A lot of people, and I can understand it. I really do. I empathize with some of these people because they're going, why would they lie? We've, you know, what? And so it's hard to change that mindset because they're not willing to, when you say something, they just turn you off and they don't want to hear, like, have you listened to this? Have you watched this? Have you gone behind this? And I was the same guy. It only happened to me maybe, 6-7 years ago. I was the guy who just floated through life and, whatever. It wasn't that big a deal. It's a big deal now.
It's a big deal. And I always say too, I say, you know what? You're not going to change my mind. And I'm not going to change your mind.
That is true.
What are we bothering for? I mean, you would think, seriously, you would totally think that the staunchest Democrats right now would be gone. okay, I'm pretty sick of this inflation. I'm pretty sick of this. I'm pretty sick of that. I'm pretty sick of our weak nation. I'm getting pretty sick and tired of this. But it's just not what they do. And my friend that's so staunch the other day, she said, I was so shocked. This is all she could muster up. She mustered this up and she said, well, she said, I'm not that big a fan of our president right now. She said, but I'd rather have Jack the Ripper than President Trump. So, and I think, guess what? You don't have to have Jack the Ripper anymore. This next time you can have someone that is not Jack the Ripper and he's going to help our country. We're hurting.
But that was the problem. I think the biggest thing was the people that just didn't like him. They voted, and because I had a buddy of mine who came to visit me from Hawaii, and he grew up in New York, and he said, "Listen, I knew Trump from back because I don't care. I just know that the man got up and did stuff and made things happen, and I don't see the only thing I see happening now. It's going all in reverse." So he said, "I grew up in New York. I used to see his business dealings, and he was a this, he was a that." I'm going, okay, that was then. This is now. But at the end of the conversation, he says, the reason it's like a lot of people vote anybody but Trump. It could be Daffy Duck, and they will vote for because they wanted anybody but him. But look what anybody has gotten us.
Yeah.
It's gotten us nothing.
Yeah.
Worse.
Anybody's a nobody. And I said that, I said, well, I sure hope he doesn't get the brain fog from the COVID virus that goes along with that virus, because he can't afford any more brain fog.
Well, this is what anybody, look, I don't mind if you vote for somebody better, but nobody's able to put out anybody better. And I'm telling you, if it was a Democrat, I'll go Democrat. Because I am not, I don't care. This is a facade, this red blue. They want you to all, they don't want unity. I truly believe in that. So I don't like a lot of the friggin' Republicans. Many of them got to go. They all got a clean house. But here we are having to deal with it. So you have to deal with it, pick something. But if you have nothing to pick from, I'd rather stick with the mean tweets. I'm sorry, because the only thing I can say is like, we were running. We were kind of running smoothly, and people weren't taking shit. We're getting threatened now by China. They're totally piece by piece breaking us down, buying our farmland. It's like we're gonna be in deep shit unless we can. It's gonna take a while to turn this around. But who do you have to put your faith in? And they put it all in this current thing, and I don't know. And now everybody's gotten very quiet. Nobody's saying shit about it. And the ones who think that we're doing good, they need to have their heads examined and have a long talk.
I can't imagine if they really believe that we're doing well. I think that's probably just what they say. There's no person in their right mind that could think that we're doing very well, because there's not a family in America, unless you're extremely wealthy, that is not struggling with just buying groceries and buying gas. And my two sons, a year and a half ago, they both bought two new Ford F-150 trucks. And they're so proud, And when you buy something, you just make sure you can make that monthly payment. That's the main thing. Well, who knew that in a year and a half, their gas was going to be doubled or tripled than what they thought it was going to be. So, just today we were talking, they said, we need to sell our trucks and drive something that's less expensive on gas. And I said, that's true. Who would have known what we were going to do? It's kind of like, who would have known we were going to go through a pandemic? Well, who would have known that we were going to go through this?
Well,
and so it creates so many more problems.
I get it, but Cathy, gas has gone up and down. I mean, this is ridiculous now, and we know why. But in the past, because I've gone through that, and I'm sure you remember, there was times when SUVs were a big deal, and all of a sudden gas got really expensive back in the early Obama days, I think. And then so everybody got rid of it, and then all of a sudden gas got reasonable again, and people started buying bigger cars because they need the space. I mean, they're more usable, they're feasible for big families, this and that. And so, that's what you did. But, gas is going down by pennies lately. And everybody's like, they're forgetting that we're still, $2 more than what we are, no matter what it goes down. So whoop-de-doo.
Exactly. And that's what they say. They tout that. They say, "Oh gosh, gas is lowered so much," and you go, "Guess what? It's still $2 more a gallon than it was last year." So they have to tout every little thing. But just the other day, I can't remember the spokesperson said, "Oh, we think that our economy is doing so well. We're doing." I'm thinking, it's lies. It's just based on a bunch of lies. They're not talking to common folks, that's for sure.
Let's talk about cars real quick. And I was going to get into a bunch of stuff with you on electric vehicles. Have you looked at, do you talk about or think about an electric vehicle at all?
Not at all. Because here's the deal. Our infrastructure in the United States is not even ready for electric cars. So this is an example. One of my friends lived in Cape Girardeau, Missouri when I moved to Oklahoma City. And they had a new Tesla, which I love Teslas. I'd love to have one. But the 6.5 hour trip took them 10.5 hours because they had to stop and recharge. And sometimes you have to wait. And then it takes a while to do it. And I'm thinking, I have to rethink that because I like to drive a lot. And sometimes I drive a long ways. But our infrastructure in the United States is not ready for that. You have to hunt to plug your car in. That's just not everywhere that you can plug your car in. So you've got to have the infrastructure to be able to do that, to travel and go to different places. We're not ready for that.
But even if you find the charger, then you're stuck there for 30 minutes, an hour, 3 hours. I mean, it's not like, the ultimate is if you have the charger at your house and you charge overnight and you can work within your means for the electric car. I think it's a great offset car, but not to be the only type of car. And electric cars are only 1% right now going on in this. And we're having trouble already with only having 1% of electric cars. So what happens when it gets up to 30% people, but not to mention, I don't, necessarily have 60 grand, 120 grand to just go, you know what, I'm just going to get rid of my car and go all electric because they're pushing me into it. And ultimately that's what they're trying to do. But who's got the money for that? And electricity is not going to get cheap either. It's cheaper now, but the more electricity demand, the more the price is going to go up, which is being made by coal. I got a whole video and I think I might just play this to give us a little education as to the, if you want to talk about electric cars, but otherwise we can move on. But I was curious about what your take was over there and the people, because if I walk down my street and I go walking a lot, I count Teslas. There's so many friggin' Teslas in my area that I'm counting Teslas because I'm shocked that, there's that many people that just, they kind of got a coolness to them, but I don't think it's the future. I just don't.
Well, I don't think it's going to be the future in my lifetime. It might be in my kids, but it's not the future in my lifetime. I don't think at all. And honestly, of course, the per capita, the money there is quite different than per capita, the money here. And I can count the Teslas too on probably one hand in my town. So it's just, and plus, this is an example. A friend of mine got a Tesla, and he had to go to the hospital for something, and it was really bad. He was there 11 days. He came out of the hospital to get his new Tesla, drive back to New Orleans, and someone had hit it in the parking lot. Well, you can't get your Tesla serviced anywhere or fixed in Memphis or Little Rock. He had to get that car towed to New Orleans. And I love it. I think it's wonderful. And I think you better have another car to go with your Tesla that you'll have when all these problems arise. So he had to pay for his car to get towed to New Orleans and get fixed in New Orleans. And it was terrible. It was a brand new Tesla. So even the service and all that across America, they're not ready.
There's a lot of all the manufacturers now have electric cars. You don't have to have a Tesla. You can get a Kia that's electric, but you still are tied down by that cord. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Not only that, I'm also learning because I'm having to educate myself on all this, because the main reason they're pushing you towards this is to be greener, to use less energy and all that. It's not true. What it takes to make the batteries, what it takes to make the cars, you'll have to own that car for about 5 years of driving, 3 to 5 years, just to equal the carbon footprint it took to build that car versus a gas engine car. I mean, there's a lot of things that are behind this that all you think about is like, well, I'm not using gas, I'm plugging it in. It takes coal to do that. It takes coal to the mining equipment it takes to make those lithium batteries burns 1,000 gallons of fuel a day in China or wherever in Afghanistan, wherever they mine the lithium from. And nobody thinks about all this. We're not really offsetting anything. It's a facade.
Well, look at China. You know what they're doing? They're wanting more coal mines. You know, we're in China, and they're wanting more coal mines. I mean, it's I think we're so behind on so many things, and I think that I know Joe Biden said in the beginning of the year 2050 he was going to have all electric cars and all this and green and everything, and I think it's far-fetched. It's almost like, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. So I feel like we have to sit back and watch, but it's not going to happen. Not.
We are the only country that is we are the cleanest country in the all these other countries don't give a shit about the carbon footprints and all that stuff. China is ramping up 30 new electric coal plants now. They don't care, but nobody sees this stuff. We're the ones just taking it and spending all this crazy money and sending our money everywhere, and they don't care. They're doing their thing, and it's like, just don't talk about it. Just don't talk about it. But nobody knows about this stuff or doesn't want to know about it. And as opposed to the plan that you're saying, they want to have it by 2030 or 2050, whatever that they want to be to these certain goals. They could set those goals, but they have no structure behind it as to how they're going to do it. They really don't. It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. That's fact. I agree 100%. It's all bullshit. And
I think that's a bunch of bullshit.
It's a bunch of bullshit. I like that. It is. Yeah. And that's why I feel so bad about our country, because I feel like we look very weak. We are being taken advantage of so much by Russia and China, and they're chomping at the bits to capture this moment. And you know what? I think they will capture this moment. I think it's going to be very difficult for us to compete against them in anything, especially if we have any type of war conflict. I'm just saying, our defense. I remember when I voted for President Trump. One reason I voted for him is I thought we need him for our national defense. And people didn't mess with President Trump. Now what are they doing? We are being laughed at. We are a laughing stock of the world. We used to be the greatest country in the world, the most powerful. We're not. We are not. And I don't know what it's going to take to get us back there, but it's going to have to happen quickly, or we're going to have some serious problems.
Look, many empires have fallen centuries ago. Just because we're a superpower. I mean, it was brought to my attention that goes, what makes you think America has to stay the superpower, like the strongest, because things change, they're saying it's like what, this country can end up being, because, nothing lasts forever. And this is what is so scary, is because we're headed down that path. I don't think we'll end up that way, like you said, in our lifetime. And I hope not, but it's going to take time to put this mess back. It's easier to wreck a room than it is to clean it up.
It is. And people say to me, because none of my kids are married or anything, and they'll say, don't you want them to get married and have grandkids? I go, you know what? That's like the least of my thing right now. I'm not really sure this world is so bad if I want grandkids coming into this world and trying to handle all this. This is serious stuff. We are in trials and tribulations, and we are not nearly as powerful as we were a year and a half ago. And I can see it. I know everyone does see that, and we're weak. Actually, I'm not gonna say we're not nearly as powerful. I'm gonna say we're weak.
It's gone to hell very fast. It's amazing how we built up all this, and all of a sudden how quickly everything just fell apart with the right people in place to help it fall apart. And they believe in what they're doing too.
Well, when Joe Biden took office, what he did, he spent like the first 2 weeks just reversing everything that President Trump had done for his 4 years. He just overturned it. And so that, to me, that's just such a lack of security. It's just so insecure. And I just remember too, he blamed every death from the COVID virus on President Trump. So is he responsible for the additional 500,000 now that have died, over the time? Because you blamed it on one person. I think that's how he won the election. I do, because I think that he said, remember what he said a little over a year ago? When I am president, we will defeat the COVID virus. It won't be around in a year. So
he said a lot of things, but nobody remembers what he said a lot of things. And thank God for video, because the one thing I like about video is video doesn't lie. And the actual reporters dig all this stuff up from the past and put it right out in front of everybody's face. And this is what blows my mind, that they're showing you what he said before and what's actually happening now, and they still just go, yeah, but still.
Yeah.
And that is just like, just shoot me now. Just shoot me now.
They just try to, I can't even imagine being the press secretary. Oh my gosh, that'd be the worst job in America, to be his press secretary and try to explain everything that he's saying and why he said it and how he said it, and when he says repeat and
they're reading. Even she's reading, Jean, whatever her name is, and the other one. They like what they're doing. Otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. But they, the one got out. That was just, I don't understand. She stayed longer than I thought. I mean, people in there.
She did. She stayed a long time, and I can't even imagine how exhausted she is after that.
You're lying one lie after another continually. Well, she went. It's just ridiculous.
That's an acting career.
It is, but they believe. I mean, because again, you have to have some kind of belief to do that. I couldn't just walk in and go, okay, I know I'm lying, but it's a job. I couldn't do it. There's just no way.
No, I couldn't either. But I'm sure they do believe, and I'm sure that they're very loyal, and all that it's understandable. I get that, but what's really going on and what is happening is not understandable in our country. We are hurting. We are hurting very badly, and it's going to be a while. It's going to be a long time. We're going to feel this for a long time. So everybody needs to buckle up, check your money. You remember when your parents used to say, "We need to put our money in the mattress." I think we're there.
I know, but I still think that people are still not. I think when the time comes and it really hits certain people, it's just gonna hit them. I don't think I think there's some people that are trying to prepare, but it's a long, slow, agonizing wound that they're creating, and they're ripping your soul out, or taking away from you one little piece at a time. So you're not really feeling it until all of a sudden you wake up one day and you go, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do?" When that what do they call that for AA people and stuff? That moment of clarity.
Yes.
When all of a sudden it hits you and you go, "Shit, I'm screwed."
Yes. And clarity is power. So once you have that moment of clarity, that's when you begin to start doing something about it and doing something different. And I think it's going to take drastic measures for many people not to lose their homes, not to lose their cars, not to lose all their money, to save and get through this. I'm just telling you, it's going to take a lot of power from people. And this isn't going to be easy. We're going to look up in a year or two, and we're going to be. Do you remember way back in the 80s when so many people went broke, lost their homes and stuff, and then it happened again in 2008? It's coming.
Yeah, well, I mean, we look, and we survived all of that too. Yes, a lot of people did, but a lot of people in the 2008s or 9s, where everybody was getting equity loans, they were giving out equity loans like crazy. And I blame. There's some blame going on there. It's just like, sure, you got plenty. Just take it out. You can pay for it later. And that was just stupidity. But this is being done now beyond the normal person's control, and it's being dealt to us. And it is what it is, and it's not pretty. But It's funny because here we are. I really kind of was going to try to stay off of all this stuff with you today. I wanted to talk to you about your guests and the people you have on your shows, but you've kind of shifted your show into this thing because it's inevitable.
It's like you said at the beginning of your show, you cannot not talk about it because it's the topic of everybody's lives right now. And so we talk a lot about self-employed people, which I'm self-employed. Well, when self doesn't work, self doesn't get paid. And so when you went through the pandemic and your business is shut down for so long, and then you start to come back, but still everyone's so skeptical to get out in public, and that just continues and continues. And then you have this and everything's so much more. Like our supplies and everything are so much more. You have to charge more. When you start charging more, then people get slower. It's just a trickle down effect. Restaurants. If you go to a restaurant, their prices have got to be double right now than what they used to be because they have to charge double because it's costing them double.
Everything. I mean, I'm looking at a store, and again, I don't do it. But my daughter was she was here, and I go, she likes, she's younger, and she likes sometimes stupid food. Like she's still, and so I was looking at a frozen pizza. I like having it in the freezer just in case. They're $2 more. Oh, well, I'd rather have a real pizza, but it's $2 more than what I was paying only 6 months ago. It's $2 more, and I told her, I said $2 here. I bought a part for my car, something I can do myself because I'm kind of handy, and I like doing it because I like staying in touch with my vehicles. I'm that guy. But the part I bought was $16 more than I bought one a year ago. And I go $2 here, 16 there. Gas, because I have a 30-gallon gas tank, and it's $152 to fill it up or something like that, and all of a sudden you're spending $400 or $500 more a month. And how do the people that only make $400 a week pay their rent and try to eat and try to maintain and have clothes and wash their, just stupid stuff, water bills?
Well, that's what our focus is on. You're on a fixed income, and now your expenses, every household in America, average, their expenses are at $600 a month. How do you do that? And you're not getting a raise to cover that. You're paying that, and so everyone is hurting. That's the thing, and it's in every household. It's not just if people say it's not bothering them. Well, then they've got plenty of money. They're not worried about anything. That's
or it will. Eventually, it will. I mean, it's got to. Well, yeah, there are people that they're shelling out more money, but God bless them. That I was talking with Pepsi. I mean, I'm better off than some people, and there's people better off than me, and there's always gonna be like that. But it still hurts. I don't think people, even with money, like parting with it for nothing, just burning it. Well, look. We are running out of time again. I wanted to know about some wacky stories on your show because I know because I have them, and I know that every show has its whack. But we got into this, and you know what? Everything happens for a reason. But what I do want to tell people is how they can check you out. Tell people how they can find you on your radio show, would you?
Yes, I'm live every Wednesday at 3:00 Central Time on artistfirstradio.com. That's exactly what the website is, and I'll take questions in advance. It's radio only; it's not video. Peter G's got it going on because he knows how to do all this, and he's so savvy. But mine's just radio, and it is nationwide. And it's I talk lots of different subjects, and I got to have Peter G on my show too. And we got so much more to talk about.
Well, that's the whole thing. Hence, talk show. But. Look, fortunately, now that we're both on the same days, because my days switched at the first of the year, I mean, fortunately, your show is earlier than my show, so you were able to jump from from yours and just jump into mine. And I appreciate you taking the time. Again, I know life is a hustle because we're all in one way, shape, or form having to, run our course. But just, because everybody's getting shit thrown at them, and we're just having to deal with it, and many deal with it in different ways. But you took the time to come on my show, and I truly appreciate that because I know you got things going on personally, as we all do. and I appreciate that. It was, we kind of knew that you were coming on, but even though as we were getting closer to the date for you to come on, there's obstacles that get in the way, and we keep on rearranging, but we made it, so I'm very happy for that.
Well, I appreciate you having me on your show. I'm always happy to do it, and I'm always happy to see you. And I think we need to talk more, like text more, talk more. You're single, I'm single. I think we're kind of cute. We might we're kind of cute.
Again, my life kind of keeps me. I went out. I went to a gathering, and I'm not even as social as I would like to be, because I just have too much going on. And this is really where my life is right now. And I went and I told you yesterday, I said I actually stepped away and didn't look at my phone for like 5 or 6 hours, as opposed to 5 or 6 minutes. And that's telling me a lot about something, that I do need more balance again. But again, this show is at a point where it's keeping us very busy, and until it keeps stepping onto these different levels and I can relinquish some of these responsibilities, like Pepsi. I don't even have Pepsi this week. He's away, and money talks. So it is what it is. But I mean, I'm grateful. I wake up and it's like, you know what? I woke up. I'm thankful, and maybe I could be doing some other things on downtime, but I need to be doing this first, because without this, there is no that. If that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense to me. Well, you're doing a great job, and I enjoyed it.
Well, I thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. One more time, right there. The Cathy Nutt Radio Show. You can see her on the Artist First Radio Network. Look up the Cathy Nutt Show, because there's many shows on that website, and she's on every Wednesday, 3 o'clock. Did you say Central?
3 o'clock Central.
3 o'clock Central, right there. You won't see the face, but you'll hear the voice, and then you can associate the voice with the face, as we do right here on this show, because she was kind enough to be on my little old show, and I thank you very much. I love you for it, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Bye.
All right, wave bye. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. One more look. There you go, the Southern Missy right there. Don't mess with her either. She's feisty. All right. What'd I tell you? It didn't take her 15 seconds to start turning the tables and starting to get into my life. It's like, so far I haven't needed a therapist. I'm okay. but she loves digging in. She wants to get into the, but then again, she's a talk show host, and that's what she does. But Cathy Nutt Radio Show, go check her out. She's on Wednesdays. And again, you can listen to her in the car. You can listen to her anywhere, because it's a radio show. You don't want to be looking at the TV when you're driving. That's dangerous. That's why we have the podcast and all that stuff. So go check her out. Again, Cathy Nutt Radio Show. I thank her very much for doing what she did. And we'll have her on again sometime soon. Time flies. We get guests. We're booked through the end of the year, and we go, before you know it's another year. We're already on the back half of 2022 right now. So time flies. Life is short. That's why I keep telling everybody, make the most out of it. And I got to sometimes take my own advice, but I like what I do. So when I stay busy doing this, it's like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Just we're growing, and the show is growing, it's getting tougher, because it's almost like, as a child is growing, it's like, got to buy new clothes and got to keep doing, get new stuff all the time. And you got to, and the things you used to like when you were little, you might not necessarily like, and so change is inevitable. And that's how this show is. And we're constantly changing, growing, advancing. And when you see this show on a soundstage, we're there. And I got guests right next to me again. We're there. And that's not too far off. Tomorrow's another day. But I thank you for watching the Peter G Show. I want to remind you, let's see, where are we? We did this. We don't need that. Whoa, sorry. Next week, Wednesday, August 17th, going back to health and wellness. We need health and wellness, folks. We do. I'm going to have Katie Chapman on. She's a dietitian, deals with health and wellness, plethora of information. She's going to be on this show talking to you. And I find, like I said, everybody's pretty interested in that stuff. So I'm really glad that that's the case, because, you can never, you always pick up something. I promise you that there's always going to be something from these people that are talking about health and wellness, healthy mind, healthy body, something you will take with you. I promise you that. It's almost like, when I got a speeding ticket many years ago, had to go to driving school. And I hated going to driving school, but I had to go. So when I went, You know, you're sitting in there for hours, and you go, "Look, I don't need this crap. I know. I'm just it's a racket." But I always I did pick up something. There was something I learned, and it was only a little thing, but it's something that stuck with me the rest of my life. I just remembered it, you know. And I preached it to my daughter, the same thing about speeding, how much time you're actually saving. It's not much, really isn't. I mean, if you're speeding like in town and trying to get someplace, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes max. But the dangers involved, and that's the chances. Like I said, it won't really affect your life too badly. But the bottom line is you learn something. So check out the show. And again, if you can't watch the shows, check out the podcast, Peter G Show. Google it, Peter G Show podcast, and it'll give you a bunch of options on which type of podcast you want. I mean, what platform you want to check it out on, an Apple podcast or Spotify or Amazon podcast. There's a bunch of Luminous, 23 of them right now. Take the show on the road with you. Listen to it in the car. At least you may learn something. I know I do. That's it. I love you guys as always. I want to thank you for watching Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show, right here every week live, or you can watch on demand. So long as you watch and or listen, proud of you, and I love you for it. It's my honor to be here, to be able to do this for you guys. I love what I do, and I do it for you. Makes me happy, makes us happy, but we do it for you. Because it's a lot when you get feedback from people, mostly good. It's always cool to know that we're making a difference. So again, my name is Peter G. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching the Peter G Show. We'll see you next week right here. Tell me what you think once in a while. Write in. Love to hear it. Always. As always. Love you guys. Peace out.
Peter G Show. Peter G Show. Divorced dad, single dad. Divorced dad, single dad. Peter G Show.